Hello, hello. Victoria here, Girlboss's executive editor. You know what they say, behind every powerful woman are more powerful women. If you're in New York City or are planning a visit before January 5th, 2025, you're going to want to head to the Music Box Theater to see Suffs the Musical. I mean, really, going to see a Broadway show? Twist my arm. Suffs is a timely musical about how American women fought for the right to vote. It's more important than ever to reflect on how far we've come and how far we still need to go. Okay, picture this. Fierce women from the suffragist movement who called themselves Suffs for short, taking the stage to share their stories. It's a vibrant blend of passion, friendship, and the fight for equality, all set to moving music that'll be stuck in your head for days. This isn't just an acclaimed Tony Award-winning production. It's a reminder of the importance of using our voices and our vote. And this is your last chance to go see it. Once again, Suffs the Musical ends its Broadway run on January 5th, 2025. So grab your girls and head to the theater. This is more than just a fun night out. It's a celebration of the women who paved the way for us. Get your tickets at suffsthemusical.com. That's SUFFS musical.com. Trust me, you'll walk out feeling like you can take on the world. Oh, and be sure to bring a box of tissues because you're going to need it.
This episode is brought to you by the Ladies Professional Golf Association. Welcome back to another episode of Girlboss Radio. I'm your host, Avery, and I'm also the founder and CEO of Bloom, an HR and DEI consulting firm. And I am a big believer that work should work for all of us. I am so excited about today's conversation because this is the first time I'm interviewing a professional athlete on Girlboss Radio. Lauren Coughlin is a professional golfer who plays on the LPGA Tour. So far this year, she has won 2 championships and had 8 top 10 finishes. Lauren has been golfing since she was just 7 years old, so the world of sports is all that she's ever known. But I was surprised at the parallels between life as a professional athlete and a career in the corporate world. Lauren has not only mastered the game of golf, but she's also learned invaluable lessons about discipline, resilience, and navigating the highs and lows of a competitive career. Learnings that are incredibly relevant to anyone striving for success in their own field, whether you're in the boardroom or on the green. Let's get into it. Lauren, welcome to Girlboss Radio. I am so excited to have this conversation with you today for 2 reasons. One, we've actually never had a pro athlete on the podcast. And 2, every single man I know that is like obsessed with golf is going to be incredibly jealous of me for my lifetime. So I'm very happy about this conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So I think that before we kind of dive in, I'd love to understand, like, how did starting golf at 7 shape your career?
I started at a young age. All the men on my dad's side, love golf. My dad, my grandfather, my uncle, his cousins. But I've just kind of always loved sports in general. They've always just kind of been my thing. I was like the girl playing football and recess with the boys. I fell in love with like everything about golf, just competing. And I just kind of was pretty good at it from a young age and just fell in love with it. Enjoyed hanging out with my dad a lot at the golf course and my grandfather. That's kind of how I got into it.
What does it take to succeed as a pro athlete?
It takes a lot of time commitment. It takes a lot of work ethic. It takes a lot of discipline and just having really good people, I think, around supporting you. Very fortunate, my husband, my coach, my mentor, my parents, my whole family have always been super supportive, even when things were not going very well. And I think having that discipline to keep going and the support from people around me to keep me going when even I didn't want to is a big reason why I'm still doing what I'm doing.
What's an example of a time when things weren't going well where people like rallied around to support you?
Yeah, so my first 2 years playing professionally, so 2017 and 2018, about 2/3 of the way through the season, I kind of almost quit both years. I wasn't playing good golf. Financially, I was really struggling. I was traveling all the time away from my husband and my family. And so, yeah, both of those years, I kind of went to my college coach and just bawling in her office, like, can't do this anymore. And she kind of kept me going, said, you're not the only one to ever have felt like this. And it's okay. But she was able to kind of like, hey, like, why don't you just kind of hang around the team a little bit, hang around the other girls, and just take some time to be at home. And if you need me to caddy for you at Q School, which is just a tournament, but I don't know really why they call it Q School. It's just a qualifying tournament, kind of get status for the next year. And she's like, if you need me to, if you make it to the finals, like I'll caddy for you. And so I did make it to finals and she caddied for me. And that's when I got LPGA status for the first time. My first 2 years were just really rough. And like I said, just without other people's support, I probably would have given up.
What advice do you have for folks, like whether they're a pro athlete or they're just like navigating their 9 to 5 and they're like, you know what, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. Like, what have you done as an individual to stop yourself from quitting when things have gotten really challenging for you?
I think what I've gotten really good at is just reflecting and being like, it's okay to feel like this. Like, you're not the only person to have felt like this. You know, at times it can feel really lonely because a lot of people can put on really good faces and they don't always show how miserable they might be or how like sad they might be in whatever it is that they're doing. You know, I see it a lot. I talk about it a lot with some other girls on tour. Like, yeah, I've struggled. I've not enjoyed it at times, but just knowing that like I'm not the only one kind of has helped and can kind of just being able to talk about it with other people because a lot of times you're probably thinking a little bit more emotionally. And so being able to talk with someone else who might be a little bit more removed from the situation and can be a little bit more rational than maybe you are can help a lot in terms of like either figuring out, do I want to keep going or is it like a good decision to actually like not keep doing this anymore?
I love what you mentioned. Your coach has suggested just taking some time to yourself and taking that pause, if you will. I always say like pausing is not the same as quitting. And it does offer such a great opportunity for you to reflect and like you're right, like think about whether it's worth quitting or not, whether you should continue moving forward. Because I think there's some things that a lot of us should quit, but when it comes to like such a big dream and something you've poured your heart and soul into, that naturally comes with waves of like good times and maybe times that are more challenging. It's maybe good to get that perspective so you don't act from a place of emotion.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think it would have been really easy if I would have just been by myself in that situation to quit. You know, my husband was a college athlete as well. And so he has always been very supportive in that and pushy in the sense that he just wants to make sure that I don't have any regrets, right? Like he doesn't want me to keep going just to keep going, just to make myself miserable, but just putting everything I have into it to make sure like when it is time for it to be done, that I can say I put everything I had into it and I can be content with the career that I had.
I love that. So, how has building a strong support team around you really had an impact on your career?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's everything for me at least. You know, I have my college coach, her husband is my swing coach now, and he married my husband and I. Like, they're basically kind of like second parents to me. And then I have my husband around me as well. And then I have my caddy, who is another huge part of my team. My husband quit his job this year to come out with me full time to just manage my day to day life, to do a lot of the non golf stuff. Having him out there helping me navigate that stuff has freed me up to do what I do best, which is play golf. And so I think without my support system that I do have, they help me perform at my best.
So, one thing I had to talk to you about, because I think that this is something that a lot of women think about, or men specifically at work talk about, is like how golfing can be an excellent networking tool. We oftentimes talk about and reflect about like the old boys club, and how oftentimes women have been left out of those spaces. And golf seems to be, in some cases, a really great bridge for some folks, dependent on industry, to build community and to kind of work their way up. Do you think that golf is actually a really great tool for folks, specifically women, when it comes to networking?
It's a huge way for women to kind of get connected and network. And when you go play a round of golf, you're around somebody for 4.5 hours, roughly, maybe five, it just depends on the course. But you get to learn a lot about a person as well. How do they handle adversity? How do they handle hitting a bad shot? How do they handle hitting a good shot? How do they handle losing, winning even? Like you can just get a really good, window into someone's personality and how they're going to handle stuff. Because some people can put on pretty good masks and charades, but I don't think you can hide it when you're competing. I've just know just from all the stories I've heard, like in the Pro-Am days we play, and a lot of these companies have Pro-Ams because they bring in a bunch of their clients and vendors or whatever, and a lot of business gets done on the golf course. You don't get that intimate type of setting in like a restaurant or anything like that. A lot of business happens on the golf course.
So, what advice do you have for women that want to get into golf, want to leverage it for networking, for their career, or even just like as a new hobby that are afraid to get started?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid. Guarantee a lot of the men aren't very good either, even as much as they probably try to act like they are. But just get into it. Go to the driving range. Get a lesson here or there if you can. I know in some of these bigger cities, there's some cool like simulator golf leagues that you can join with other women even. One of my friends lives in Vegas, and there's like a league that she goes and plays in. And she used to live just outside of New York City, and kind of same thing. There was like these simulator places, so like indoor driving range basically, that there's leagues that you can go and join and with other women and not feel intimidated if that's what happens. They're called 5-iron golf is one of the places. I know it sounds easy, but just don't be afraid. Just go try it, see if you like it, see if you enjoy it. And if you do, then I think it's worth it.
Before we started recording, we had an interesting conversation about like women and apologizing and men. I'd love to kind of hear your observation when it comes to women and over apologizing as it relates to golf and what you've learned about men through that.
Yeah, so pro-ams, like I said, most of them are men that I get paired with, but every once in a while there's some women. And I feel like the majority of the women that I've played with at some point, or even before I've seen them hit a golf shot, are apologizing that they're not very good, or apologizing that I'm going to have to witness them like not playing good golf. Whereas the men are generally just excited to be there and excited to get to watch me play golf, excited to get to learn, and never really apologize that they're not as good as me. If they might make a joke here or there, but like I think they're expecting me to be better than them, so they're not too worried about it. Whereas like a woman sometimes like I think they just feel self-conscious about it, and there's just no need for them. I know for me at least, like I could care less what your golf game is. I'm just looking forward to having a good time with you out on the golf course.
It's so interesting because it makes me think about like how men are more likely to apply for jobs when they have like less than 10% of the qualifications. However, with women, they won't apply unless they feel like they have 100% of the qualifications, like, and then this concept around over apologizing on the golf course when you're saying that like usually men may not necessarily have that skill set. It's just an interesting dynamic and something that I think we could all learn from. What strategies have helped you to stay more confident under pressure? Because I know that golf is like highly intense environment. Like all eyes are on you. It's just you that's there. Like, how do you manage that?
I'm constantly trying to manage it. There's still times where I can feel myself getting really anxious, but most of the time when I've found that when I'm battling it is because I'm thinking about result and not thinking about the process and being super present and in the moment. Like it's very cliche, but like it's it really is true. Like if I'm thinking about what I want to shoot, or if I'm thinking about I want to win or I want to make the cut or whatever, if I'm thinking about that type of stuff instead of just focusing on what am I trying to do right now in this moment, how many yards do I have, what club am I trying to hit, like if I'm worrying about all that other stuff, I'm probably not going to hit a very good golf shot. But I think I've learned all that from being able to reflect and look back on when I didn't do things well, and being very honest and like non-judgmental with myself about why I think I did it. Why did I not play well the last like couple holes when I was playing so good the rest of the tournament? Well, I started thinking about winning those last couple holes, whereas like prior to that, I had not really thought about winning until that moment. And as soon as I started thinking about winning, I lost it. And so it's just like being able to reflect and be non-judgmental, I think, and honest with myself and with my people around me who help me. I think that's why I've been able to get better, especially this year.
I hope you're enjoying the conversation with Lauren so far. Okay, so to continue into the world of golf, you're going to want to mark your calendars for November 20th, 2024, because the LPGA is unveiling their 75th anniversary schedule of the 2025 season. They'll also be kicking off an unforgettable week at the CME Group Tour Championship, which is the season-ending event of the LPGA Tour season and a highlight in women's professional golf. And yes, of course, Lauren will be there. It's taking place at the stunning Tiburon Golf Club in Naples, Florida, where the top 60 LPGA stars will compete to be crowned champion and take home the coveted CME Globe. We'll also be witnessing history as the champion takes home a groundbreaking $4 million, the largest prize in women's golf. Can't join us in person? Tune in on NBC and Golf Channel to catch all the excitement and support the amazing women breaking barriers in the sport. Now, let's get back into our episode with Lauren.
And I love the point around being honest with yourself. I've been really trying to get to the point where I see feedback as like neutral and almost like I see it as like if I'm a piggy bank and every single thing that I get in terms of feedback, whether it be quote unquote good or bad, negative, positive, I try to like just reject those binaries. And I just see it as me being filled up with more information, more tools, more resources so I can get better and get closer to what it is that I'm kind of focused on. But I think that with that, I love what you said around just like reflecting and taking in, like being honest with yourself, but kind with yourself about what it is that you did wrong versus like punishing yourself for it. How did you get to that point?
I think it just took me a lot of times of just being hard on myself and realizing it's just not working and like being honest with people around me why I think I messed up and just like not seeing it as a personal attack on you as a person because you didn't hit the golf ball where you were trying to hit it or because you didn't quite meet your goal. Like it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you need to try a little bit harder or you need to figure out what it is that held you back. And so you don't do it again. And so you can hopefully improve. But I think it just took me some maturity, I think, doing it the other way and not getting the results I wanted.
For folks that are listening that tend to be perpetually hard on themselves and they want to get out of that loop. I know that you mentioned like for you, it was like becoming aware that it wasn't working for you, beating yourself up when you wouldn't have a great golf shot or a great game. What are some things that they can do to perhaps get to where you are now?
It's a very cliche thing in the golf world, but one shot at a time is a big thing. Like being able to get over the last shot and just getting back into the present and like, where are you now? Where are you now? What do you need to do now with this next shot? It doesn't matter about what you did in the last one. What are you doing now in this moment? It's really hard. Like I still fight it at times. I feel like I've done it enough that I don't have to fight it as hard anymore.
A lot of people would think that you have essentially gotten to the point of like doing your dream job. You're doing what you love and something that is a passion as a means of work, which is fantastic. But I know that there's so many nuanced experiences that come along with that. What recommendations do you have for folks that are either currently working by way of their passion or they're wanting to do their passion for work?
Gratitude is a big one. I think that's something that I've really learned to just be really grateful that I get to do what I do for my job. Like for a lot of people, it's someone's like dream aspiration to go play a professional sport or art or music or acting or something like that. If that's what you're trying to get into, I think just being able to have the work ethic and the time management and the discipline to be able to put the work in that it takes, because it does take a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of time and it can put a lot of stress on a lot of different aspects. I think it's all worth it if you're able to and not even maybe you don't end up making it, but the fact that you were able to give your all into something that you're really passionate about is a huge win.
What advice do you have for folks that want to do what they love for work, but they're afraid that it will ruin it for them?
Yeah, I can understand that. Like a lot of people think like, oh, you play golf for your job. Like that's so cool. But that's the thing, like it is my job. And as much as I love golf, it's not the same golf that you and your buddies go play on the weekend. I'm doing this 24/7, 365. I travel 25 to 30 weeks out of a year. I don't get to be really home all that much. But I think that just being able to put in that amount of time and effort into something makes it worth it. And I feel like I've gotten good at being able to separate golf as my job and golf as something that I go do for fun. And that took a while. When I would come home from being on the road, my husband would be like, hey, like, want to go play golf after I get off work? I'm like, No, not really. Like, I just got home from 3 weeks on the road where I played golf 21 days straight. Like, my first night home, like the last thing I really want to go do is play golf. But I've gotten better at being able to separate the two and just go enjoy but it took a while to kind of be able to get over that hump.
That's great advice. I think that what I wanted to talk to you about today was focus. I know that golf, as I haven't played golf many times, but I've tried it a few, and it required more focus from me than anything else I've ever done, ever. And I'm curious, like, for folks that are, whether you're a pro golf player again, or you're working a 9 to 5, it seems like a lot of people today, more than ever, are struggling with focus. I'd imagine that there's a lot of skills that you've honed as a professional golf player that we could take into our workplaces. What do you do to stay focused in those moments where you're trying to get a great shot or play a great golf game?
Yeah, so I have a caddy, and they can be your greatest asset out there on the golf course. I think being able to turn on and off when I need to be like super, super focused, and when I can, like, okay, you can relax your mind for a second, just because, a golf round can take about 5 hours, but it's like impossible for yourself to be super focused for 5 hours straight. So like I need to be able to learn how to turn it on and off. When I turn it on when I need to hit a shot, and then be able to shut it off right away and be like, okay, I can relax my mind. So like for me, it's, within like 5 yards of the golf ball, my caddy and I are, okay, it's kind of time now to go figure out how far it is, what club I want to hit, all that type of stuff. And then as soon as we've made that decision, and as soon as I've hit the shot, like, okay, now we're just going to go talk about whatever it is we're talking about: TV, sports, movies, like what's going on with his life, how's your family, like that type of stuff. And just being able to learn to turn it on and off. And like when I'm practicing at home, I'll do things for about like 45 minutes at a time, and then like go take a little bit of a break. Doing anything for more than like 45 minutes straight of like just intense focus, after that, like studies have shown that you decline rapidly after that. And so you might as well not even be doing anything. So just spreading out everything that I'm trying to do into like almost like 45-minute blocks, and then giving myself a little bit of a break, whatever it is, like just going and resetting can help a lot.
Now, I think that one of the things that even people that are really great at practicing focus struggle with is avoiding distractions. So I'd imagine that there's all sorts of different types of distractions that come up, whether it be like maybe not the best weather, or like a bird, or someone that's being loud in the audience. Like, how do you block out distractions?
Yeah, I think when I'm like practicing, like I'll have probably my headphones in, some type of podcast going on, just to kind of help me. It gets me like locked in enough to where I can do the task, but also kind of just blocks out any other type of thing that might be coming in. My coach in college, she kind of always said like, okay, when you're doing something, be all in. Like if you're practicing, be 100% in. If you're with your family, be 100% in. If you're working out, be 100% in. Like whatever you're doing, just be 100%.
What are some skills that you've learned from golfing that you apply into other elements of your life?
Just the discipline that it takes to do what I do week in and week out. Just the ability to learn how to get into a good routine, like practice routine, schedule. Time management is another one, just being able to manage my time well enough in a day. I'm getting more busy than I have been, just given some of the stuff that's happened this year. And so I'm starting to have to manage some of that a little bit more than I'm used to. But I think what I'll take away from golf is my work ethic, my discipline, and just like overall like time management skills. I think I'll be able to take into the workplace whenever that may be.
Where do you see the future of women's golf, and what changes would you like to see?
I would love equal pay is a big one, I think, for us that we're striving for with the men's PGA Tour. A lot of that is getting us on TV. I don't think until we get on TV that we're going to get the same money that the PGA Tour does. And so I'm hoping that that's where, that once they start putting more eyeballs on us, I think that people will enjoy it more than they thought that they would. And that would help us get seen more, which then means equal pay for us, hopefully.
Honestly, hell yeah to equal pay right across the board for women and work. It's apparently only getting worse, but I think that with conversations like this and call to actions like what you just shared with everyone, I think we'll get hopefully to a better place in the years to come. And I guess with that, what's next for you?
Yeah, so I have 2 more regular season tournaments. I have the Annika and then the CME, which is like our tour championship in a couple weeks. And then I'm playing in the Grant Thornton Invitational, which is like a team event that's really cool. One LPGA player gets paired with a PGA Tour player as like a team. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'll have about 6 weeks off. And then Tournament of Champions is at the very beginning of February. So yeah, I'm just going to be enjoying being home around the holidays, trying to get stronger in the gym. I've played a lot of tournaments this year. I'll have played 28 events, which is the most I've ever done. So traveling is a lot harder on the body than people think. And so just trying to get some strength up that I may have lost during the season, just is kind of how it goes. Your body just gets run down a little bit. And so, yeah, just trying to get that back and just enjoy being home for a few weeks.
Well, congratulations. And we're definitely really excited for you. And I just wanted to thank you for your time and energy and for being our first pro athlete that we've had a conversation with today. I've definitely learned a lot from this conversation that I didn't anticipate that I'd be able to apply into like my daily work, since what we do is so different. But it's incredible how things like discipline and resilience and focus are all things that, whether you're a pro golfer or like me, founder of a consulting firm and a podcast host, like how it's transferable. So for folks that want to continue to follow along on your journey, where can they find you?
Yeah, on Instagram, L_Coughlin is how it's spelled. Coughlin is how I say it. And then on Twitter, LC is Who's Golfin. Who's as in HOOS, right? UVA, the Wahoos. So, but Instagram is probably my main thing.
We'll leave the links in the show notes so folks can find you. But thank you again for your time and your energy today. And yeah, good luck with all the tournaments you have coming up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
And that's a wrap on my conversation with Lauren. I'd love to know if we have any athletes or golfers listening. And as always, let us know what you thought of this episode. So please send us a DM on Instagram at Girlboss Radio and give us a follow for even more podcast content. Tune in next week for another episode with a very special guest. And until then, don't forget to leave us a comment and give us a 5-star rating. This podcast is produced by Victoria Christie and Camilla Nizio and edited by Diego Domine. Until next time, keep blooming.